On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day, and I hope you guys are kind of hunkering down through some of this crazy time. There's an information war going on. I have been reticent to do shows like this for quite a long time. A lot is going on in the world. I want to give a little bit of a brief kind of overview, and I think this is for a lot of light workers, certainly people that are at least of my age and older, and then even of people that are younger. We're all on this neat journey, this great awakening process, this red pill process that so many people talk about. And during this awakening process, it's become a bit traumatic. And sometimes when traumatic things are happening internally, externally, things start to show that are traumatic. We are, from a world standpoint, going through a world change. All of us internally, and the planet as well, is currently being modified. So let me take a step back. Back when I would say probably the early 90s, around 93, I would say is roughly when I got red-pilled. It was a combination of many things, meeting certain people, and just a lot of things were happening in my life that really helped me kind of evolve into this knowing of what was kind of really going on around us. And first, I will say, I kind of felt like in the movie The Matrix, Neo, when he first kind of got red-pilled and he falls down on his knees and throws up. That's kind of how you feel. It's pretty traumatic. It's pretty scary when you realize all the crazy things that are going on around you, all the crazy ways things could happen in bad ways. You know, it just seemed like there was so many things happening and we were always teetering on the edge of extinction, right? And it was just funny how it's been played up. So, 93, I kind of red pill myself. I get to that point. I was in radio when 2000 happened. So, of course, I didn't necessarily think the end of the world was coming, but the whole thing of Y2K was happening. The idea that all the computer systems were going to shut down, stop functioning, everything was going to never work again properly. So we had, again, living under the shroud of just amazing fear and going through that entire experiencing and realizing, one, it wasn't what they said it would be. Another thing that was kind of funny at the same time was a good friend of mine that I was working with in radio. He was one of the weekend DJs, and he actually wrote a screenplay that was very rooted in the Bible and all this, and he did all this research. It was like his life's work. And he had the end of the world coming, it was some month within 2000. He let me read it. It was a fantastic piece of work, but by no means did I believe he was correct. Yeah, regardless of where he got the information, I saw no chance that the end of the world was going to occur in April, or wherever it was, something like that. So again, we get past the time. He kind of has to disappear because he claimed that he was this knower of facts. And once the date passed, he kind of fell out the wayside. As you can know, that the second you start making acclamations at a certain date that something's going to happen and it doesn't, well, you kind of end up with some egg on your face. So again, got through 2000. Didn't think the end of the world was coming, but meh. So finally get back home. Got into a condo. Made it through 2008. Even had my brother get out. I had to buy my brother out of my place. Prior to that, got laid off because I was working in the mortgage industry. Found a better job. Made it through 2012. Now, 2012 of note, supposedly this was when we chose the time frame that we're on, by the way. There was a world meditation that happened. My other channel, Dan RadioStyle, I talked about a meditation, a worldwide meditation that was happening. I didn't sponsor it, but I was one of the people supporting it, and certainly a great experience. But supposedly, and I believe this without a doubt, that we chose the time frame, the timeline of mass change that doesn't require 90% of humanity to pass away. So fortunately, we got through 2012. Since that time, there has been a lot of interesting things that have happened. And basically, the war began. And where we are now, and a lot of people are kind of wondering, first off, where I'm going with this. Second off, what's going on in the world? Why is all this stuff happening? Certainly people that follow me on my normal channel are like, from a manifesting standpoint, what the heck's going on? Is this a me pushed out moment? What's going on right now, especially this very second, March 27th. Today, things are happening where the dark is starting to be exposed. There's been a lot of talk. There's been people by the name of Q. I don't know if any of you have followed any of this. I've been following Q since before he was Q. Pre-Q days, I was following some of this info. There was a Meganon even at one point, and then some people prior to that. Fascinating information's come out of that entire chain. There's also an individual by the name of Cobra that has been very fascinating. An individual by the name of Ben Fulford, who's been one of the key players. David Wilcock, another key player in a lot of this evolution of this information. Now, are they 100% right? No, and I don't believe anybody is, by the way. But I will say that I listen to all theories because within every fallacy, within every lie is truth. And within every truth is usually some form of error. Not everybody's going to be 100% right. So finding the truth and disseminating the truth from the many sources, sometimes they're being misled, sometimes they're intentionally being misled, sometimes they get nuggets of beautiful gems. And by following all these movements and watching what's played out in the news, watching what's played out in just politics, you start to put together a picture of what's happening. The planet's changing. We are evolving. The intention was always to get to at least a fifth density, is my understanding, as well as even a fifth dimensional standpoint. Now, I'm not sure when that change happens because I believe there is some sort of event that's been discussed that will probably be significant in nature, but we're going to be way prepped and ready before then. So what we're going through now is a little more of the dark ages of this transition that's happening. The dark owns a lot or controls a lot of the information dissemination that exists out there. So there's a lot of information that makes this virus, for example, sound horrific. And I'll say this, it is extremely infectious. There's no doubt about that. It is a very, very, very contagious virus, but its mortality rate is surprisingly low. And that's the one thing that the news is really having to blow out of proportion. They're taking a lot of the numbers and comparing it to the number of people that have actually been tested. Well, when you've got a limited number of tests, then you're not necessarily taking into account everybody. So when you look at a small segment of a giant population that's maybe got the infection, but you only know for sure of a tiny percentage of it, the ultra sick, and that's why they've been tested, and then you look at mortality relative to that small number, it seems worse than it is. Now, even those numbers right now are starting to look less and less scary. But, and again, that's because there's more and more tests. So as this evolves, we're going to find that, yes, it's very infectious. Yes, a lot of us might very well get it and never know it. And a very small percentage of us, looks like typically people that have a pretty messed up immune systems, tend to be very, very old. I mean, this seems to be where the largest number of deaths are occurring. So, information war, again, meant to freak people out, meant to scare you, meant to cause panic, meant to cause people to shut things down. Now, they're also trying to shut down the economy. Why would that benefit anybody? There's two sides to what's going on right now. There's the side that's trying to win for the light, and there's the side that's trying to hold for the dark. The dark is doing everything in their power to alter what's happening. And due to this struggle, they're willing to shut down the economy. It's kind of that slash and burn approach, like something the Soviets were famous for back during World War I and World War II, which was as people would start to invade into Russia, they would start to fall back through their stands, right, through their different defenses of countries and pull them further and further. And as they were going back, they would destroy all the buildings and houses and structures that were in that were between them and the army. And the reason they would do that is because the invading army would not have any place to seek shelter. And without shelter in a very cold Russian winter, a lot of the troops would die just from exposure. So it was, a pretty solid move, but at the same time, you're sacrificing a great deal. Well, that's what's going on right now. A huge sacrifice is being attempted, and a huge fear and panic push is being induced by all media sources, Fox and MSNBC and CBS and CNN. All these news agencies are all saying pretty horrible things about the way the world is right now. No difference. I don't care what political side you're on. You can hate Trump, you can like Trump, and everything in between. It doesn't really matter. What's going on right now is this transition is occurring. There's a lot of people that are suggesting some very horrific things are about to undergo, and that's why I'm doing this video. They're talking about locking us down. They're talking about removing the writ of habeas corpus. They're talking about martial law. There's been a lot of things. I will say the writ of habeas corpus, I think, is probably something that's going to come. Am I happy about it? Nope. Do I think it's probably the best thing? I do, for what's coming. But it scares me when we, again, let go of freedoms. To think for any sense of humanity that I can give up a freedom and hope that I'm more secure is no, it's not true. But if it's because of the illness and it's only a suspension and they maybe put a date in there, which I'm hoping is how it plays out, then it might actually accomplish what I'm also hearing, which is by keeping everybody locked inside, it allows this cleanup to occur. There is, from what I hear, over 100,000 sealed indictments for all sorts of people. Now, I'm not sure if the number's that high, but from what I've seen, it is definitely in the many, many tens of thousands, like probably well over 80,000. I've seen numbers that are like over 130, so I don't know if those are right, but I think it's well over 80,000 different sealed indictments. Things are happening. We've got politicians, we've got some famous actors that are kind of stuck in isolation, and they're having a lot of problems. Some of them, in fact, look horrible. And there's another tie-in to some other components that are missing. Some are calling it adrenochrome. I've looked into it. It's kind of interesting, and I'm wondering if there's some truth to it. Due to the fact that you look at Madonna, you look at Ellen DeGeneres, you look at, there's a few of them, and they don't look okay. They look ill. They look bad. They look way older than they normally do when they're on TV or when they're normally dolled up. So there's a lot of people that are questioning what's going on there. Again, this is all part of the control that we've been apart for a long time. Something changed all that. And when that change occurred, when that timeline shift happened, a lot of plans that were meant to go off and meant to happen a certain way, like this pandemic was planned a while ago. In fact, some are quoting it might have gone back even as far as 2000 when it was written about. So this has gone back a long time. Even Sylvia Browne, I think they're giving credit for at this point, which is interesting. She was one of the end of the world people, 2012, prophets and all that stuff. So in this process of this transition, the dark forces thought they had the ace in the hole. They thought they had the ace in the sleeve, if you will. They thought they had this killer virus that was going to wipe out mankind, at least 90% of it, because that timeline they were still working on. But back in 2012, that timeline shifted to the one we're on now. And the one we're on now has gotten perverted because of the panic that they've managed to induce with this. And there's a huge meditation. I've got a link below. I talked about it on my other channel. Again, it's Cobra that has really sponsored this. And it's occurring April 4th and 5th at the exact same moment. Millions of people are going to meditate and bring light and love to this planet to help with the virus, to help with what's going on. And these people are here to make a difference. They're here to change. All of us are going to be there to energetically help shift this timeline back into the direction that it was supposed to go. Again, it's just been slowed. We're still on the same timeline, but because of the fear, it's a collective conscious approach. The more of us that feel a certain way, that affects the collective consciousness. That got shifted pretty heavily due to what the dark did. What the light's now combating it against with, there you go, is this meditation, this bringing people together with love and harmony and light in their hearts and trying to basically shine light all over the planet to see. He's saying the violet flame. I'm using white light, maybe throwing some violet in there, but white to me is just it's pure. I don't want to necessarily just filter. I know purple's typically more of a healing. So feel free to do it. I'm fine with that. And really, purple is a great color to use, but also so are all the other energies as well. But they're very much involved with trying to cleanse the planet. What I'm asking all of my light worker friends to do, one, hold the light. Understand that we have rounded the corner. Believe it or not. It looks horrible. It's darkest before dawn, as they say. But literally, we've rounded the corner. We've literally won the battle. It's just pieces and debris are falling. Bits of buildings are still falling down from where the bombs have gone off. Like, it's okay. And just, again, be calm, be collect. Let's do our best to try to stop the spread of this virus. Again, it's very contagious, not necessarily mortality, but contagious. Wash your hands, do all that crap. Let's just do that for now. Let's just try to get through this and slow the infection the best that each one of us individually can. And from there, this thing will go away. People will get back out. The economy will ramp back up, and some are saying we're starting a new economy. Big part of what the shutdown's probably doing. Again, a lot of things are happening right now. And this economic shutdown, many are suggesting we literally are transferring or transitioning into this other parallel economy, this one that's more trade-based, more based off of goods rather than the petrodollar, which is what we've been running on. Supposedly that transition's occurring. When we transitioned from gold to the petrodollar back in the 70s, we had gas lines going out the wahoo. You could only get gas on certain days depending on your license plate. It was a horrible transition. Again, we're having another transition. I think they literally took advantage of what the dark did, and the light said, perfect, thank you. We knew you were doing this. We've known for years. Once it finally happened, we had a plan in place. So they immediately have taken advantage of this. The world is changing right now. Be a part of it. Check out the link below for the video on April 4th, April 5th. Also, if you watched this much of my video and if you actually enjoy what I'm doing and actually like this content, subscribe to this channel, please. That's one way I'm going to know that people are actually interested in this message, and I would love to keep doing these kinds of messages as we start to transition through what's going on. Maybe become a little bit of an ambassador of peace, if you will. But there's a lot of crazy information out there. I follow all of it, even the bad, even the good, and I'm trying my best to disseminate it. And here's a great place where I might be able to share it with some of you. I hope you guys like. Please, again, subscribe if you like, comment, love all that, and if share the videos. People, it makes a huge difference getting past the algorithm. And you also got the little bell icon. If you bling that out every time I put out a new video, I've done some Law of One videos that are pretty cool, and I will continue to do some more of those. But yeah, just seeing the numbers alter a little bit on this channel will help get me a little more engaged in it. Otherwise, I'm going to keep focusing primarily on the Dan RadioStyle channel, which please check out. It's Dan space RadioStyle, one word. And do a lot of great manifesting videos, feel-good stuff, positive messages daily. Again, just trying to share light and love, trying to get people to focus on what they'd like to experience in life. And believe it or not, when you do that, you get a lot more cool stuff in life. So please feel free to follow. I appreciate each and every one of you. Love you guys. Namaste. And be safe. And that's the best we can hope for right now. Thanks, everybody. Dan RadioStyle on the Fringe.